The love story of Jenny Verner and John Mitchel is more romantic, more adventurous than Titanic, Gone with the Wind, The Quiet Man, and Ryan's Daughter. It is a true story of Ireland and America. It is the story of a lifelong fidelity that was to touch 3 continents and the hearts of thousands across the globe and through the ages. It began on the banks of the Clanrye River in Newry, and it was to end with John Mitchel dying without his Jenny in Drummer Lane, Newry. In between, they were to experience elation, separation, deportation, celebrations, and the loss of 3 of their children against a backcloth of world events. The story, global in its geography, universal in its appeal, is visual. They were a most handsome couple. They acted out their lives in the landscapes of Ireland, Tasmania, also known as Van Diemen's Land, California, New York, Virginia, and Paris. As a story, it is the focus of a wide variety of perspectives because John Mitchel attracted the attention of the British government, Australian authorities, the governments, both regional and national, of the United States of America, the Confederate government, and a wide variety of writers and newspapers across the world and across the political spectrum. Along with his own vivid writings, especially Jail Journal, there is no shortage of material to illustrate the story of John and Jenny Mitchel. His homes, his offices, their schools and graves remain as focal points. Mitchel was a Presbyterian Republican who practiced law in Newry and politics in Dublin. More than any other writer, he shaped the nationalist perception of the famine. He is of both traditions, of both sides of the modern border, and of both sides of the Atlantic. 2 sons were to fall on the battlefields of the American Civil War. A third was to lose his arm. All were Confederates. Mitchel's eldest son, Captain John C. Mitchel, fell as the heroic commander of Fort Sumter. His last words were, "I die willingly for South Carolina. Oh, that had I died for Ireland." His youngest son, Willie, only 18, died carrying the colors of the 1st Virginia in Pickett's charge, Gettysburg. James, Mitchel's 3rd son, survived the war, having courageously taken part in most of the major battles. When Richmond was about to fall, the Confederate Congress considered, with their owners' permission, arming the slaves. John Mitchel, having lost 2 sons for a secondary cause, was appalled. He was forced to consider that if slaves were capable of being soldiers, then all he had stood for was wrong. That thought was too painful, and even after the war, he continued to write in support of the Confederacy. So much so that he was imprisoned with the ex-Confederate President Davis. When imprisoned by the British, he was treated as a gentleman. The Union denied him a trial, and his prison conditions were brutal until the Fenians lobbied for his release. Jenny Verner's family were involved in the founding of the Orange Order, yet they were staunch friends of their devout Catholic neighbours, the Russells, the family of Lord Russell of Killowen. Jenny strongly supported her husband's causes, to the extent that, in a letter to Honest John Martin, she suggested that the judge and jury should be shot. Although suffering from seasickness, she journeyed to Van Diemen's Land with her 5 children to be with her husband John. She travelled through the jungles of South America along with her children, and she lived in a log cabin in Tennessee. She lost a daughter as a Catholic nun in a Parisian convent. Jenny ran a Union blockade and was shipwrecked. She was Scarlett O'Hara as her house in Richmond burned. She supported slavery, but to the horror of the Bells, she did her own housework. She remained faithful to her controversial husband, and for years lived with the hope that her youngest boy, Willie, would come back from the war. She died at 10:30 p.m. on the last day of the 19th century. appropriately as her husband hated progress. Jenny's looks and deeds today would have been admirable, but within the context of the limited technology and inferior status of women in the 19th century, they were positively heroic.